And welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports live show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. We're coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in the O'Hare campus. Again, ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all having a fantastic day. It is freezing out here, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Windy City, of course. But, of course, it's staying nice and toasty and warm in here with yours truly, as always, of course. And if you guys, of course, want to check us out anymore, we're going live right now on the YouTube and the Twitch side. That's right. That is youtube.com/xbombsports. And, of course, twitch.tv/xbombsports. If you guys want to make sure, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, give us all the love in the world possible you can. You guys always do, and we appreciate it so much. Obviously, if you want to follow us anymore as well, too. We are at X-Bomb Sports on all the social media as well. That is on Facebook. That is on Instagram, and that is also on Twitter. And, of course, too, any questions or comments on anything like that. As usual, we always answer your questions on Friday. We have our email, that is xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. But today, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a little bit different because, unfortunately, Friday, jeez, I don't even know my days anymore. I'm so tired. Monday, we did not do a show, unfortunately, due to some circumstances of timing and other things at hand. But because of that as well, too, ladies and gentlemen, I figured we'll do a regular episode today for X-Bomb Sports. So we will go the whole long shebang on this one, ladies and gents, giving you all the details. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about the Bears stuff and give that whole situation out. We already have a lot when it comes to the blow whistle stuff. By the way, check that out every Monday and Wednesday, 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time on SportsTownChicago.com, Twitch, and YouTube side. Make sure to check that out. As well as that, too, we'll also talk a little bit more on the college football stuff. And then, of course, we're going to do the Pick Six because I got 6 conference championship games that are going to burn a hole in your pocket for you to be able to make money, lose money, whatever it is your pleasure might be, ladies and gentlemen. But please make sure to gamble nice and responsibly. That's all we ask. But, folks, let's kick this one off with, because as I'm sure we're all aware of, as of last week, a new head coach is now on the field for the Chicago Bears. Well, not a new head coach. He's the interim coach, and that would be, Thomas Brown, because Matt Eberflus is no more. The man has now updated his resume to say that his time with the Bears ended in 2024. After a slew of bad losses, 6 in a row, be it, cultivating with a Thanksgiving game that was tragic to watch if you were watching the game, Bears fan or not. They had every opportunity to win that game, as it were, or at least have the possibility of maybe tying the game. But unfortunately, once again, due to bad management and due to systematic plotting by the coach to maybe try and destroy the Bears, I don't really know anymore at this point. Matt Eberflus really showed his true colors yet again, botching another opportunity for the Bears to get a win against a divisional opponent, nevertheless, and now finds himself out of a job, which, becoming the first head coach in Bears history to ever be fired before the end of the season, kind of gives him a bit of a gold star in the ugliest way, but it is a momentous occasion, I would certainly say, for Chicago. And obviously the discussion of, why he got fired has been run through the ringer, right? Everybody's talked about, what were the main causes as to why this guy got canned? Why did he lose his job? And look, when you really break it down on what happened with Matt Eberflus, I think there's a multitude of things that you can aim at, and I'm sure you could list each individual thing and a sub thing, but look, a lot of it, I think, came down to play management, time management, and what our guy Nick Johnson hates me. I don't know if he hates the word, but he certainly cringes at the word, and that is culture. Lack of culture / identity, I guess is what we would say. Which he tried to bring in, right? The whole principle, the hits principle thing, right? The hits principle was supposed to be his kind of this is who we are. This is how we establish ourselves. We're going to be tough. It's the kind of thing that you would have spouted out at a, first day of school kind of thing, right? I mean, it was a little ridiculous. A lot of people really called it out for being what it was at the beginning. But people said, all right, well, let's trust this guy and let's see. Maybe there's some hope here with him, right? And it ended up just getting uglier and uglier. And look, the more and more I watch this guy from his Hard Knocks series with the Colts, his time being the defensive coordinator, you could see there were elements of his coaching style that worked to make that team hardened and make them look like a contender at the time. When the Bears hired him, though, he very much, to me, again, he very much gave off that vibe of Lovie Smith, if you will, which I get it, right? You know, everyone's going to claim, well, the Bears won with Lovie Smith, but that was during a time when defense and running the football would allow you to win that way. You now have to have a quarterback. You have to be able to have a guy that can throw the football. And point to take, Caleb Williams can be that guy. Is he that guy? Well, not just yet, but he looks the part of the franchise quarterback, at least to this point in time for the Bears. But every step of the way, Matt Eberflus has seemed to kind of undermine the team in some regard, trying to be the smartest man in the room, trying to take control. Whatever the case is, he's never felt like the leader of the team, even though it feels like he's tried to force his way into being that guy, right? Like, everybody look up to me. But from what we now understand, according to the locker room, Jalen Johnson and many others kind of exposing that stuff, saying, actually, there was a huge lack of respect for this man, and it was based on the fact that we didn't think he was a good coach, coming from the Bears players themselves. And you would understand that completely, right? I mean, how are the players going to be able to respect a man who can't get it across midfield? Which, again, I know the offense is not his domain. But where I thought Ryan Poles was the guy in charge of hiring Shane Waldron, again, I was wrong on Shane Waldron, of course. It's clear Matt Eberflus wanted Shane Waldron, and now having to see him go, and now Matt Eberflus out of a job. Now it steps to Thomas Brown to take over as the interim head coach. Now it goes to Ryan Poles and possibly Kevin Warren to be the men in charge of the future of the Bears as far as a head coach goes, which this gets interesting because immediately in that press, which I listened to that press conference a couple times, the fact that Kevin Warren came out pretty quickly and said, by the way, just so everybody knows, Ryan Poles is the general manager of the team. It was like, did you need to state that? We know he is. It definitely was an interesting point. I think a lot of people have noted at this point. And I got to be honest, I don't know if Kevin Warren realizes all the duties are at hand as the president of the team. Not to say he's not smart, not to say he can't get better at it. I think he was brought in here for one specific purpose, right, which was get the deal done for the new stadium. But beyond that, nobody really, I think, maybe did their due diligence to say, well, is he truly qualified to be the president of the team? Does he realize everything that is, that you have to deal with being in that position? Again, it's not to say he's going to do a bad job. It's not to say that he can't get the job done or anything like that. But I don't know. Listening to him talk, listening to what he had to say, I didn't really come across very confident with what Kevin Warren, with what he was saying specifically. I have confidence in Ryan Poles that he could certainly do something for Chicago and help the Bears. He's already done it. I just don't know if Kevin Warren is going to be a guy that people should look at and be like, oh, and there's the other part of, like, the other piece of the beam that's holding the bridge up, right? Like, you've got one that's pretty sturdy, I would say, in Ryan Poles, that's keeping this thing upright, right? Or keeping it above water. The other one, meanwhile, I don't know if Kevin Warren is, fair to say, maybe he's not the answer for the presidency of the Bears. Maybe too early to tell. Maybe too early. I just, that whole press conference did not give me a vote of confidence for Kevin Warren being a part of this thing for the Bears necessarily. But, okay, so these guys are in charge, right? Ryan Poles has final say, according to Kevin Warren. He's going to be the definitive voice on who you get. So who are they going to get? Who are the names? Well, there's a litany of them, right? The biggest one, of course, being Ben Johnson from the Lions. He is by far the biggest name out there right now, right, of the coaches that they are currently courting, I guess, or soon to be courting, I guess, if you will. Along with him, you've heard guys probably like there's Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator from the Bills. There's Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator from the Texans. I've heard the dark horse of Todd Monken, the OC from the Baltimore Ravens, which, listen, you get the theme here, folks. It's not defense. Now, there have been the added names of Aaron Glenn, DC from Detroit. There is also Mike Vrabel, the former head coach of the Titans, a defensive specialist. I would venture to say, though, that Vrabel's connection with Tom Brady probably makes him more of a Raider than he does a Bear. And Aaron Glenn and Mike Vrabel still both feel like a Matt Eberflus. Just certainly they would bring in a little bit more of that tougher atmosphere. I think they'd bring in the identity for the Bears that was lacking from Matt Eberflus. They'd at least have a little bit more aggression to themselves. But I feel like the trend right now that the NFL has shown and that the Bears are now moving towards is being an offensive team, right? 3 talented receivers. I would say they have 2 talented tight ends, but they only use 1, right? They have a couple of talented running backs, and they've got a quarterback that seems to be able to throw the ball. The problem they have right now is the offensive line has been an absolute mess. That's a nightmare situation that they can't seem to solve. So it's understandable that they would look at guys like Ben Johnson, like Bobby Slowick, like Joe Brady, guys who could potentially come in and say, not only can we help the quarterback, but we can bring in the offensive scheme that might be able to help protect him while the offensive line is still being built, while we're trying to find pieces to replace the very sad-looking guys that are up front right now doing whatever they can at their best. And I give those guys credit. They are trying their best, but they are just completely overmatched by the defenses right now that they are up against in the NFL at times. And it's rough to watch because Caleb is doing everything he can, and you just wonder if he had a clean pocket for a little more than half the game, what could he do, right? 75% of the game, what could the Bears be at this point? One could only imagine. Then there's the interesting one of the Kyle Shanahan, the trading picks for the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, 49ers, which, I mean, we looked at that on Blow the Whistle on Wednesday. Our guy Nick Johnson brought it up, listed off a bunch of names. You got Don Shula, Mike Holmgren, John Gruden, Sean Payton. I completely forgot Sean Payton was traded for, right? You got a lot of guys on that list. Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Super Bowl winning Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers, right? And if not, at least, if anything, playoff wins. So that says something right there that if you're getting, it seems to work, right? If it's the right coach, of course. And it's fair to say, I think that San Francisco has kind of passed its prime, if you will, right? Christian McCaffrey seems to have peaked. Trent Williams seems like he's going to be out of the league soon. A lot of that team is very old, offensively and defensively. And now you got to wonder, are you going to keep Brock Purdy as your quarterback? I mean, he's okay, but you're going to pay him $50-60 million a year? That's a lot to pay to that guy who's right now struggling. And I know everybody's trying to say, but he doesn't. No. You want to be the $50-60 million a year quarterback, you got to do the job. You got to show you can do it. So maybe this is the opportunity for the Bears to talk to the 49ers and say, hey, look, what would it take to get Kyle Shanahan? I would assume a first-round pick. I'm assuming, which at this point the Bears would have another top pick potentially in the draft. So do you want to give that up for a head coach? Do you feel confident? Because you still need a lot of help on the O-line, and you still need to find an edge rusher, and you also may need to find a safety. So food for thought on that kind of stuff as far as going for coaches, right? But then there's some of the one that I keep hearing, though, is Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame head coach. And I just want to point out, how ridiculous that is. Guys, this isn't college, right? You want a guy that can recruit? Marcus Freeman's your guy. He's one of the best recruiters in college football. Not going to doubt that at all. In the NFL, it's not going to work. You can tell me all you want that, Caleb likes him and, he has a connection with young players. Yeah, it's college. Of course he does. And he's like in his early mid-30s, late 30s, something like that, or early 40s. I don't know his exact age. But what I can tell you is he's great for college. In the pros, he'd be terrible. And again, it's another Matt Eberflus type of move. Another defensive guy. Another very Mr. Calm, matter of fact. Not going to worry about things. Folks, if you are a Bears fan, you don't want to go back. You want to go forward. Right? That has been the plan probably since 85, to go forward. Right? Stop living in the past. Live in the future. The future is offense, quarterbacks, throwing the football. The past is defense, run the football. Right? Be hard-nosed. It's okay to have a little finesse to your game. It's okay. It's okay. You can survive off of that. As long as you bring in, a guy that can have the right identity for this team, that has the right plays, can manage things, but you don't know who that guy is going to be until he steps in there. Right? We all say Ben Johnson likes the Bears job, wants the Bears job. Ben Johnson seems like he'd be perfect for the Bears. Of course he does. But this is all kind of like on paper with what we're seeing from the Lions, right? Once he's hired and he steps into that Bears job, is he going to have the same ability to convert what he did in Detroit over to Chicago? We won't know until he gets here. If he gets here, mind you, too. There's a lot of things that are going to be thrown up in the air before this is all said and done for this situation, right? Good on Chicago for at least finally saying enough is enough and moving on from their head coach and taking the steps to finally move forward into the 21st, maybe even the 22nd century. As far as what's next for them, just sift through all the resumes, find the right head coaches for this team that fit this team, fit your quarterback, fit your vision, and that vision should be Ryan Poles' vision. At the end of the day, it's his vision. But obviously, folks, let us know, what is your vision for the Bears? What do you think is going to happen next about the Matt Eberflus firing? Who's going to be the next head coach of the Bears? What is the offseason going to look like for Chicago outside of the head coaching situation? Because they've got a lot of things they're going to have to make decisions on who to sign, who to keep, who to go after in free agency, who possibly to draft. Let us know all that stuff because the offseason's not too far away, folks. And as you know, that's where we love to get our bread buttered as well, is the offseason. Of course, preparing for the draft, free agency, all that good stuff. But obviously, let us know. Comment down below. We want to hear from you guys. But, folks, when we come back, college football was chaotic, and so much happened. And I cannot wait to dive into this with the upsets and the craziness that has now caused the college football playoff. We're talking about that next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Hey, watch your mouth. Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. Boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
You're fired!
Throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Judy Finelli established herself as a masterful juggler and performer, making appearances everywhere from Carnegie Hall to Sesame Street. With her loving heart, she has brought warm smiles to children everywhere she has performed. She even started the San Francisco School for the Circus Arts. But shortly after, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and by 2004, she was completely paralyzed. In celebration of her accomplishments and to fight the illness that had crippled Judy, a group of students from the San Francisco Clown College have compiled the perfect holiday present for those who want to laugh and to help those struggling with the illness. The goal has been set at $1 million raised, with 100% of any dollar made to be donated to the Judy Finelli Fund, which is helping find a cure to multiple sclerosis. Visit www.circuscenter.org to make a donation or to purchase a framed naked clown photo or the full Naked Clown 12-month calendar. Remember, 100% of every dollar is donated and goes to fighting MS.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports live show. My name is still Andrew Valentin. I'm still with you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. We just got done talking about the Bears firing Matt Eberflus. Oh, happy day for all those Bears fans out there that I'm sure are very excited about that situation. And, of course, all the head coaches as well that will probably be interviewed, and hopefully they will find their way to the Bears at some point. Maybe, hopefully they will find the right guys, of course. But outside of the Chicago Bears and their whole situation with the NFL, we now turn to college football, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Because in college football, believe it or not, we had ourselves quite the interesting week. Basically, to kick this one off, ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, I have been a steep follower and believer in the idea of Ohio State being one of the best teams in the country. Well, unfortunately, Ohio State found themselves at the edge of a very sharp, dull knife and found it plundered into their chest as Ohio State dropped a big game to an unranked Michigan team, 13-10, in their classic rivalry, which I want to say I felt like this was coming. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I was right because I picked Ohio State. I picked them to clean their clock. But lo and behold, Michigan's defense comes up with the big plays. I mean, Will Howard made some bad decisions. And Ryan Day, once again, had much like Eberflus, right, had an opportunity to be able to go into this, win the game, set everything up for Ohio State to be able to be that successful program that they have been for years. But yet again, for the fourth straight time, they botch it. And in this one, this was very winnable. By leaps and bounds, it was winnable. And yet, consistently, time and time again, they continued to put themselves in terrible position. And, of course, head coach proving himself once again to be I don't even know what the word would be at this point. I don't know how to even describe him at this point in time anymore as far as it goes for him in his career. He has just blundered this thing away. He has completely botched opportunity after opportunity for Ohio State to be a national contender, to be a national championship caliber team, and he continues to just let this thing fall. I mean, it is sad to watch, and yet, and I know for many, it's also hilarious. I know I'm sure David and our guy Drew and so many others who are Penn State and Michigan fans, obviously, they're laughing and they're having a great time watching this. But it is painful to watch because, man, Ohio State feels like that national caliber team, championship caliber team. They have the pieces. You can say whatever you want about the quarterback. Even the quarterback himself feels like a guy that should be able to play his way as an Ohio State QB to a national title. But this is what Ryan Day does. This is exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect him to do. You have an opportunity, you have the chance, and of course, he decides to be, I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'll figure this out, and he blows it. Now the question has to be, well, do you fire him? Most people are saying yes. I would agree with that. This is a fireable offense. You've lost your rival, who this year was maybe the worst they've been in a long time after a national championship season they just had, 6-5, and you lose to them in this kind of fashion because of your head coach. Yes, that's definitely a fireable offense. But it's not going to happen because Ryan Day still ends up with a 10-2 season. Ohio State will still finish in the college football playoff. I don't know how far they'll go, but oh, by the way, Ohio State still finished out with a top 5 recruiting class on early signing day. They will likely finish with a top 5 recruiting class by the end of signing day when it hits the summertime, right? Or not summertime, but spring. Like this is a detriment to Ryan Day, sure, but not enough that he's going to get fired. Like that's where you're losing me when you say he's going to get canned, he's going to get fired. Nah, I can't buy into that. He's done too much at the university already. He's also established that he can build NFL talent and get the top recruits in the country to commit to his school. Now, yeah, he's lost some guys, don't get me wrong, but the guys that he has there right now, he's got NFL pros littering that team. Many of them 5 and 4 stars that have been coached up to this level, right? And he's got another group coming in right behind him. And yes, it's a shocking loss. It's unfortunate. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt anything about the college football playoff, I don't think, truly, other than they don't get maybe a bye week, right? And they don't get to play in the Big Ten championship. But I don't think this hurts them drastically, and I don't think Ryan Day's going to get fired for it. Even if you agree with that, and I understand where your position is with that. I completely understand where your position is with Ryan Day should be fired. But at the same time, it's a small part of what he's done for that university. And I'm not a supporter of Ohio State. I'm just stating that this is what happens with these big universities. You can lose to your rival. People will be upset. They will call for your job. But if you make the university money and you bring in the best players in the country and you still find a way to win, you're good. And for all we know, they still might win the national title. We don't know. It's going to be hard, I'm sure. I know they're probably not favored, but being realistic here, I don't think he's going anywhere. If he does, he's getting a job within seconds. But outside of Ohio State, there was the big game that happened in Georgia, right? University of Georgia is playing against Georgia Tech, which I know for a lot of people, man, they were really hoping Georgia Tech could pull this thing off, but Georgia is who they are. They are who we thought they were. No one's letting them off the hook, of course. 44-42, 8 overtimes. 8 overtimes it took for Georgia to win this game. And I'll be honest, Georgia showed a little bit of the hole in the armor, right? There's a weakness underneath, just underneath all of that metal that they wear. That great defense, their quarterback, their running game, right? All looks so superior on paper. Well, that defense is superior to an extent. Their quarterback, probably somewhere in the above average to good range, and that's in the college level. And their running game, very non-existent all year long, despite the fact that they have an elite runner, I think, in Trevor Etienne. And yet this freshman Frazier is the guy that kind of emerges. This says a lot more, I think, for Georgia Tech and Brendan Key, the head coach there, than it does for anything that Georgia wins the game, fine. Okay, fine. But Georgia Tech is the one that kind of proved themselves here by saying, oh, we can compete with these guys. Which, by the way, they had home field advantage. This is Atlanta. This is in the ATL, in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Right? This is their home turf, technically. Right? Georgia's in Athens. This is Atlanta. they proved a lot here. Key being the head coach proved a lot here. And one of them is that he's probably going to get offers from big universities that are looking for head coaches. I'm sure that's going to be the next thing that's going to be on his list. I don't know if he's going to take it because he's got a good crop of guys coming in. But, man, he's done some great work there. Give that guy all the props in the world you possibly can. He has put in the work. He has done the job. But Georgia's showing a little bit of their exposure there. I look, that defense, again, that defense is still nasty. They're still talented. I don't know, though, if they're going to be shutting people down, again, like we saw against Texas. I mean, and that's, and we'll talk about that here soon, too. But this really did open up, I think, some eyes to say, look, if you haven't already thought that Georgia was a team that, yes, they played the number one schedule in the country. They were beaten by Alabama. They were beaten by by teams in the past. And now they've been able to find ways to have victories over Texas, but losing to a team like all of that stuff builds up and contributes. All of that stuff builds up and contributes, and eventually, I think I got to come to the conclusion that I don't know if this is the Georgia team that's going to pull it off. I don't know if they're going to do it. I mean, it's a small, slim chance. I mean, yeah, they beat Texas. Yes, they did. And I think that Texas is the most complete football team maybe in the country, although Oregon could be an argument there too. But I don't know if Georgia's ready to handle them a second time around. But speaking of Texas, the Longhorns putting up a fight in what is a returned rivalry against Texas A&M. And they make their place in the SEC championship, so they'll be taking on Georgia for the SEC title. Now, the main thing that I came across from this game after I was watching it was, man, Texas is dominant. Like, it was 17-7, and yet it felt like it was 49-7. It never felt close. Never. And that may say more about A&M and where they're at because this is a new head coach. But, I mean, this is an A&M team who's done pretty good work, I would say. Right? They've done pretty good work. Meanwhile, you've got Texas who, okay, they didn't play anybody up until they played Georgia, sure. And Georgia did some real good work against them. Really did. But the resiliency of this team, right? Quinn Ewers is out. We got Arch Manning. We can't really throw the ball. We got a couple of running backs that can still run the ball. We got one of the best offensive lines in the country. And our defense is punishing. I don't see a lot of holes in them. I don't see too many weaknesses with this program. If there is one, it's probably maybe in their run game, I guess. Maybe. Other than that, it would be their head coach, I would say. Sark, because he's not maybe the most proven guy as far as head coaches go in the NFL, or in college, I should say. But even that, I would still say, but after what we saw last year with Texas, maybe Sark has finally figured it out. Steve Sarkisian's been around. He's been an apprentice at many programs with great coaches, one in particular being Nick Saban. So if anyone is going to figure out how to get this thing down pat, Steve Sarkisian feels like the kind of guy that should eventually be able to figure it out, and I think he finally has. He's got his formula. Is he going to build a dynasty at Texas? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that. I do know they got the recruits for it seems like. And the dominant performance we just saw against A&M says to me they're going to be doing this for a long time. That the Longhorns are going to try and reign a long time. Kudos to Texas, man, but I can't find too many weaknesses on this. All right, and finally, let's talk about this because obviously securing yourself in a title game was kind of the whole deal for this week for a lot of teams. Well, with one losing an opportunity to be in the college football playoff, it looks like another one may have gained an opportunity. It still remains to be seen, but it's looking unlikely. Nevertheless, as one puts on one hat, another one comes off, if you will. Or if one comes off, one puts it on. And that is the University of Miami losing to Syracuse, which pretty much seems like it puts them out of playoff contention, all but eliminated, except for one crazy scenario that had to break down, and I don't think it will. Meanwhile, South Carolina, who I don't think is going to make the playoff either, many argue they should. I would say I understand where your conviction is for wanting to see them play in the college football playoff. However, we should understand why it's going to probably end up being Alabama, right? Because they beat 4 ranked teams. Now more than ever, I've never heard so many people talk about a schedule, quote-unquote, resume, if you will, for a college football team than this year, right? Which we all knew expanding the playoffs from 4 to 12 just meant you're going to make more people upset, right? Because your team's not going to make it, my team's not going to make it, your team's not going to. There's going to be all kinds of reasons why you get upset, right? Why am I ranked here? Why is my team there? Why? It was going to happen regardless. Now you just have more people that are going to be upset. And it stinks because, I'll do this till I'm blue in the face on it, but look, Miami should be in the college football playoff as far as I'm concerned. I know the loss to Syracuse knocked them out. It just stinks because I still look at them and I think they're better than Clemson. I do. I think they're better than Clemson. Or if anything, I think they're more exciting than Clemson. Cam Ward being the better quarterback, I would argue to say that Cam Ward should be in the college football playoff. Cade Klubnik is just another carbon copy, as far as I'm concerned, of Carson Beck. Does not very much impress me. I know he was the number 1 quarterback out of high school. I get that. He overseeded and took over for DJ Uiagalelei, who was the top quarterback at the time, one of the top quarterbacks. I get all that. I understand. Miami just is fun to watch. Clemson is about as boring as their Bible-thumping coach, Dabo Swinney. They're not exciting. They're very basic. And it's a personal preference for me, of course. Right? This is just a personal preference and an opinion. But I just feel like Miami, no matter what, should be in that talk. But when you lose to Syracuse, I completely understand why they're going to be out. I get it. I do. I'm not going to argue with that. But this is also where, too, you better hope SMU and Boise State, if they're getting the bye weeks, by the way, those two teams better take advantage of their bye weeks, because if they go into those bye weeks in the second round and they get blown out, people are going to be upset. Because I hear a lot of people saying they've earned those bye weeks, and I go, but man, if they end up losing like 47-17 or some crazy score like that where it doesn't even look close because they're getting outmatched by guys that arguably are bigger, stronger, better, faster than them. Like, you don't want to doubt the little guy, don't get me wrong. We all love an underdog, but we all love the great matchup too. Right? Like, don't get it twisted. I love when the small-time school takes on the big dogs, right? That's great, cool, awesome. Vanderbilt beats Alabama. Oh, we love it. We love it. If that's what it were in the national championship, beautiful. But at the same time, I think most of us would say that probably wouldn't happen again. That was probably a one-time moment. And that's because they had the quarterback and they had a few of the pieces there, and they were making plays. Had they played again, I think Bama probably mops the floor with them. I mean, I'm just being honest. I know they dropped games to an Oklahoma. I get it. I do. But, folks, let's be real. College football playoff, these teams are the powerhouses for a reason. Ohio State, Oregon, right? Even Clemson. I mean, even as much as I bag on them, they still have some sort of power to themselves because of who they have on their roster and who their coaches. I love what Indiana did this year. I fully believe they're probably going to get slapped in the face. I do. I can't give them. I wish I could give them a little bit. I want to give them love. I do. But I can't give them the full, like, yeah, they're going to do it. They're going to break the mold. Nah, I don't think they're breaking the mold. Sorry. I mean, if that upsets you, I apologize. But at the same time, you probably knew that too. And deep down inside, you know Boise State, SMU, Indiana probably cannot compete with the likes of Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State. Go down the list. The superpowers of college football. They got to beat them. To get to a national championship, you've got to beat those teams. I don't know. I don't know if they can. It's not to say that they aren't deserved, but I would have rather seen Miami in there. Maybe even a South Carolina. That's the thing. I understand why they're out, but for the value that those guys bring as a show, that's what I'm looking at in this as well. That's going to do it for the college football talk there for the week, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, let us know what you think about the crazy week that happened prior to this upcoming week. That's probably going to be more madness. We want to hear from you guys. We want you guys to let us know down below. Please hit us up in the comments. Please let us know all over the place. xpsportsofficial@gmail.com, at xbombsports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all that good stuff. Please, guys, we appreciate it. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Pick Six. We are running through the top 6 games of the week, and we're going to give you those odds and ends and give you our predictions. That's coming next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Hey, watch your mouth.
Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. Mr. Boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
You're fired!
Throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Judy Finelli established herself as a masterful juggler and performer. To fighting MS.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. We're still here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking about the Bears at the beginning of this thing. We talked about the chaos of Week 14 in college football. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time, as we always do for the show, it is time for the Pick Six. That's right, ladies and gents. We picked the top 6 games of the week. And, of course, this week, it's Conference Championship Week here, ladies and gentlemen, for the college football world. And sure enough, we've got 6 games we're going to talk about. There were a few NFL games that we were going to decide on, but you know what? We keep it to 6. We're going to stay at it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to these. So first up one, Tonight, we've got the Mountain West Championship game. This is number 20, UNLV, number 10, Boise State Broncos. Boise State is only favored by 4.5. The over-under right now is at 60.5. Boy, this is tough. But oh, man. I don't know. I may pick UNLV maybe to at least cover the 4.5. I would like to think Boise State could win this game because they already played each other before, and they played a close one in Boise State. Boise State did come out with the victory. Of course, Ashton Jeanty has led the way for them. But I like UNLV maybe a little bit more in this, and I may take UNLV not just to cover, but I may take them to actually upset. Considering that they had a quarterback that went to the transfer portal, skipped out, had a brand new quarterback starting in the next week who balled out and has been playing so well this week, UNLV might be a little bit upset about what happened in the regular season, and this may be their opportunity to be able to jump on it. I would say UNLV not only to cover, I'd say UNLV to pull the upset off against Boise State, causing more chaos in the college football playoff, I know, but nevertheless, I think UNLV has enough of a passing attack and enough of a ground game to challenge Boise State here again and pull out the victory. So I will say UNLV is the victor for the Mountain West Championship. Next is the American Athletic Championship. It is the Tulane Green Wave taking on the number 24 Army Black Knights. Army's had a good year, 10-1. They've been great. They have a quarterback who has 25 rushing touchdowns in Daly. That kid is built like a Mack truck. He runs through people left and right. Tulane, freshman quarterback Menza, he's played very well. Legs, arm, he has all the tools you need to be able to succeed in college football and possibly at the next level. We will see. He's a freshman, mind you. He still has 3 more years of eligibility. But right now, Tulane favored by 3.5. Army may have a shot. Over-under's at 48.5. I would definitely take the under on this game. Definitely. This is tough because Tulane is a passing game where obviously Army runs the football. If Army is able to control the clock, they can win this game, of course, easily. But Tulane is getting favored in this game so much because they have an incredible offensive coordinator who is just putting everything on the table, including the kitchen sink and the refrigerator. This guy is throwing everything out there for you to see offensively and then some. I'm guessing he's making plays up in the dirt at this point. There's no way he has this much firepower behind him. But if I got to pick somebody, I'm going to go with Tulane. I'm going to bank on the freshman quarterback, I think, on this one. I believe I said Army on blow the whistle. I'll go with Tulane on this. I'll give Tulane 4, but I would definitely take the under on this game. Defense is going to play a heavy part, I think, in this battle. But Tulane I got winning the American Athletic Championship in the AAC. All right, next. This is the Saturday games, folks. These are the big ones. You've got the Big 12 championship game, number 16 Iowa State taking on number 15 Arizona State. Arizona State right now favored by 1.5. The over-under is at 50.5. Man, I really like the Cyclones, I do. I do. I like the Cyclones because there's a lot more that they can work with. Arizona State has a wide receiver and a running back. Scatterbo has been great this year, right? They have an emerging talent at wide receiver right now in Tyson. That kid could be the next great thing. Quarterback-wise, leave it back. They're kind of the same guy. They're kind of the same dude. This is tough. If I got to pick one, though, I'd say I think it's got to be Arizona State. Arizona State, I think, by a full touchdown, I'll say. I'll say this hits the over. Not a shootout necessarily, but offenses will be scoring. I don't feel good about that, though. I'll be completely honest. My gut says maybe the other way could still be coming. But I'll go with Arizona State to win the Big 12 championship. Next after that, rematch. Number 5, Georgia against number 2, Texas. Oh, man. Right now it's sitting at even money for these two teams. The over-under is at 50.5. I'm siding with Texas on this. I think they're out for blood. I think they want to get back. I think Georgia has been exposed after the Georgia Tech game, amongst others. I think Texas is coming to play. I think they're going to bring the fire. Now, I'm not saying blowout, but I'm saying that Texas will find a way to stay ahead and win the game. I'll say Texas by a full touchdown. If you don't want to give it that, I'd say at least give it 6. I do think this game will hit the over, though, too. I know Georgia's defense is great, and I know Texas' defense is great, but I do think this will be a game where the offenses will start to pop off. I think Texas, though, is ready to take back revenge for what they had done to them in the regular season. If they do lose, I will say it's still a close loss by at least 3 points or less. Prediction on that as well. Next game, though, we got is the Big Ten Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Penn State, number 3, taking on number 1, Oregon. Now, our guy, David Dykstra, is here. I don't have to ask him where he's going, right? He wears it on his chest every single day. He wears it on a hat pretty much almost every other week, if not every week. I got to take Oregon, though. They are -3 favorites right now. The 50.5 is the over-under. I would say this game probably hits the under, but I think Oregon wins this thing by a full touchdown. That's where I'm at. Oregon looks like a very complete team when you look at it. I agree with our guy, Tyler Buteball. He said they're the most complete team in college football. I would have to tend to agree. Offensively, defensively, they have all the pieces capable of being a national championship contender. What I think is the biggest selling point, though, is Dan Lanning, their head coach. He is phenomenal. He is great, and he has the tools to take Oregon, I think, to the national championship. But this is going to be a hard test for them right off the bat, winning the Big Ten championship. They're in the playoff no matter what. But beating Penn State is going to be a big proving point as to where they are. I'm not saying blowout, but at least a touchdown difference. Maybe I'd push it to 10 because Oregon is just that good of a team. And Dan Lanning, I think, is just that good of a coach, too, honestly. So I'll say Oregon, and I will say the under on this one. Oregon by a touchdown, the under of 50.5. And finally, ACC Championship. Man, they don't make this easy. They really don't. It is number 17, Clemson, taking on number 8, SMU. Clemson's favored by 2. Man, I'd really like to take SMU. Will I take SMU? They're favored. They're favored in the matchup predictor for ESPN. But I don't know if I can pick them. They haven't met an opponent like Clemson. Like I said, Cade Klubnik does not feel any better than Carson Beck, but Carson Beck against SMU I think could still do some damage. Could be wrong. Of course, I could be wrong. I will fully admit if I was wrong about these games. I'm going to take Clemson by a full 13 points, though. Touchdown, 2 field goals. I could see it happening. I could see this being a blowout, too. I could also, though, see this being a close upset. But I think Dabo Swinney is a great coach for a reason, to some degree. They've got the quarterback. And to some degree, I think they also have the defense, too. But I will say Clemson by 13. I do think this hits the over, though. This is going to probably be a very high-scoring game. That's going to do it for the Pick Six, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to do it for this show. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We do appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for being a part of this great fan base that is the X-Bomb Sports Live Show, being a part of the Boom Crew. We appreciate it, ladies and gents. Of course, if you enjoyed this one, it's youtube.com/XBombSports and twitch.tv/XBombSports. Wherever you're watching it, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscription. Let us know in the comments anything you wanted to talk about, anything we had to say. We will listen to you guys. We'll hear from you guys, and we'll answer any questions, comments, things like that you guys have for us as well. Always, again, that's the YouTube and the Twitch side. If you guys want to ask us any more stuff, want to follow us any more on the social media, we're getting more active on that. That's at XBombSports on YouTube. I almost did it again, jeez. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And, of course, too, any questions or comments you want to fire directly at myself and the rest of the crew, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. I know we didn't do the questions this week. I know this was the Short Fuse Fridays. We will get back to Short Fuse Fridays next week. I just wanted to be able to cover the big news that happened this past week because we didn't get a chance to. So I hope you guys understand, but thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you guys for listening to us as well. Be sure to check out Bad Karma Wrestling. They did not go today, but they go every Friday, 11:30 p.m. Central Time. Check them out. Blow the Whistle as well. Again, every Monday and Wednesday, 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Go on live there as well, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure to go check that out too. As well as our boy, Nick Johnson's No Substitute for Sports. Find them on YouTube as well. And I believe that covers everything. I believe that covers all that we have to discuss. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening again. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.